Hi, Rage. My name is Robert, and I just saw your video on YouTube about abortion. And is it murder, is it sin, or is it choice? And in that video, you covered a lot of ground, and you you addressed a lot of different elements. You had a lot of text on the screen, and you had a lot of verbal quandaries, and uh, and to answer to give each and everything that you brought up justice, and approaching each element would require an 11-minute response for each one of those little things, and but I tried to figure out, distill down to uh, the least common denominator, what your major questions were. And so there's themes running through your questions that were like, is God self-centered? Does God have a double standard? And I'd like to answer that question now for you. Is God self-centered? Why, yes, he's self-centered. He's self-centered, and he's also selfless. Let me explain. It says in the Bible, it says, "For thy pleasure all things are and were created." And so God created the whole material universe and all the spirit beings. Everything and everyone was created for his pleasure. So in that respect, God is self-centered. But does God deny, or uh, does God not want us to have pleasure as well? No. As a matter of fact, the thing that gives God happiness is when we are happy, when we are pleased. With, of course, pleased through righteous things, not pleased through doing wickedness or evil, but when we have true joy, true happiness through following his ways, yes, that makes him very happy. Does God have a double standard? Why? Let me answer that that sentiment by asking you this question. Do your parents have a double standard? When you were 5 years old, did your parents have a double standard? Did they restrict you from the keys to the automobile? Could you take the car out, or your dad's motorcycle, or could you grab the bottle of scotch from his cabinet, or could you um, go all the places your parents could go? Were you allowed to enjoy everything um, that they'd enjoyed? Were you allowed authority over the checkbook and the family finances? No. To all those questions, no. You were not allowed to. You were restricted. And they had wisdom and judgment to be able to handle things that you could not handle at that age. Now, that example is pales by comparison to what God and us would be like. Now, imagine your parents were 5,000 times more wise than you were at the age of 5, and you might be getting close to how much wiser God is than us. And in that light, he is the only proper one to make a decision about when a life can or may be taken. That is his discretion. And he is never wrong for making the kind of decision that he wants to make. With regarding anything, to include when a life is to be taken. When we take a life for the purpose of our selfish reasons, in our impassioned moments or whatever, then yes, of course, it is sin. When God takes a life for any reason, it is not sin, because he will always do it for the right reasons at the right times. The only time a person may take a life would be by proxy, by God saying, I want you to go kill this person. Then it is that person meting out God's judgment. It is not them, in a sense, committing murder. They are taking a life, but they're doing it in obedience to God. And yes, you do see plenty of that in the Bible. You see people taking lives for God, for His reasons. And no, God doesn't take life for His jollies, for demented pleasure. And I'm sure you got a Bible verse you can run to show me where that's wrong. But I'll show you that if you want to argue that point, I'll go there with you. We'll take these Bible verses apart, and put them in context. And I guess if God does take pleasure in the death of a person, it would be someone like the kind of joy you would get from seeing Adolf Hitler put to death, or Osama bin Laden, or some Stalin or Mao Zedong, or some monster from the past. There are certainly people that that I feel if they were to be put to death, it would bring me joy. But here's why: because I would know that their capacity to kill has been terminated. It's not always. Here's an example. We kill cancers, right? We kill whole colonies of cells, bodily cells that go rogue and have their own agenda, right? The cancer cells have their own agenda, and their agenda is destruction. Now, God has killed pagan nations before, right? You brought some Bible verses up